When you slide under the car and look at the cowling underneath, you're going to find two access panels. The one further back, that's the one we want to open in order to get access to the oil drain plug. There is a slot for a flathead screwdriver, but there's a good chance they're loose enough that you can open them up with your fingers. Behind that access panel, you can see the oil drain plug. You're going to use a 17 millimeter to crack this open. You shouldn't need anything special, but I like to use a larger wrench just to get the leverage to crack it open. Once you get it loose, you can just spin it off and get that oil flowing. I do like to drain mine hot, so wear a glove so you don't burn yourself if you do the same thing. Here's a shot of that drain plug up close. You should inspect it to make sure there's no damage, and you should also replace that crush washer. There may be a new one included with your new filter. Once you've reinstalled the new crush washer and drain plug, you can now close that access door, and we'll move to the access door just in front of it in order to change the filter. Now, since we have a high capacity oil filter and synthetic oil, it's recommended to change your oil every 10 to 12,000 miles. However, some people still like to change their oil every 5,000 miles. So if that's the case, if we look at the bottom of this filter housing, there's a small plug at the bottom. This allows you to drain the oil without changing the filter. Because I am changing the oil and filter today, I'm simply going to throw a 32 millimeter socket on the bottom of that filter housing and slowly unscrew it. Be careful, this is all plastic, so when we tighten it, we just want to get it snug. Once we hand spin off that filter housing, now what we want to do is compare our new filter from our kit to the old filter. So if you just give the old filter a good tug, you may want to wear gloves. It should just pop right off. Now you can compare it to your new filter just to make sure that the parts are the same dimensions. Once you've confirmed that your new filter is a good fit, before we start reinstalling things, we do want to wipe down, get any old residual oil off that filter housing. And then the next thing we're going to do is replace that O-ring. So using a picking tool, I'm just going to very gently slide the tip under that O-ring and then just pop it off. And again, be careful not to scratch or dent that plastic housing. In the description, you'll find links to all the parts to doing this oil change. All right, so next we are going to take that new O-ring and just roll it over the filter housing and get it into that proper groove. That's all. It's pretty easy to do, and before we install it, we are going to take some of that new oil and put it on that O-ring just to make sure it forms a nice seal. Next, we are going to pick up the new filter and very gently mate those two ends, and use the palm of your hand. Don't squeeze those pleats because you don't want to damage the new filter. You'll hear it click when it snaps on, and it does fit loose, so don't worry about that. Now notice how narrow the end of your filter is. When you push that up into the engine, you're going to have to give it a little bit of a push in order for it to slide over the pipe in there. Once you feel it slide over that pipe end, then very carefully thread it onto the other side of that plastic housing and get it hand tight. Now I'm just going to wipe everything down, and then I will put my 32 millimeter socket on it, and I am going to very carefully snug the filter into place. 18 to 20 foot-pounds is recommended, but once I feel it resist, I'll give it maybe a quarter turn and I'm done. One last thing I like to do when I feel that it's snug is just reach up in there with my hand and feel that the two sides of that filter housing have mated properly. Now we can close that access door and move to the top of the engine to add the new oil. So I just use the top half of my two-piece funnel. I'll set that on top, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, but we are going to add 5.6 quarts of OW20, and again, I will put all these details in the description. To get the last 6/10 of a quart in, I will use a single quart container, and I'll use the little delineations on the back and just add about 600 milliliters. With your new oil added, you can remove your funnel, wipe everything down and replace that cap. And now is a good time to clean the whole top of your engine if you haven't done that already. I like to use a silicone emulsion. Armor All is good. I actually made my own recipe. I'll put a link in the upper corner if you'd like to see how that's made. And once I get the whole engine compartment cleaned out, then I will move to the inside to reset the computer. You do want the car flat on the ground for the oil measurement, so you do want to get it off the jack stands, and we might as well close her up before we get inside the car. You should also know that the proper oil measurement will be when the engine's warm, and you won't be able to actually measure the oil until after you've driven the car for 30 minutes. Now press the start button without your foot on the gas to get the power mode on. Now hold the odometer button until it asks you if you want to reset. Then release and press again, and it will reset your mileage on your oil. That's all there is to it. You have now reset your oil system. Now what you want to do is take an oil measurement. So in order to do that, we will go into the car computer. We'll click on vehicle status. Now remember, this has to be done after you've driven for about 30 minutes and the engine is warm. While we're waiting for that measurement to complete itself, you'll see that my interior lights are actually flashing through all the colors. I'll put a link on how to activate that little Easter egg mode in the upper corner. Once the automatic oil measurement is complete, you'll see it in a thermometer on the right-hand side. And we have the oil level exactly where we want it. Thanks for watching. Check out the description for more information and hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more videos.